tough start so far by the Detroit Pistons. They just lost by 26 points to the Lakers tonight. It's been a tough go so far. I don't even know the exact number now because it's an ugly number, but it's a double-digit number losing streak.
15?
What's their
It's rough.
record now?
I
2 and
think
16?
they're 2-16. Yeah, they've lost
That's
15 in a row.
15.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's been ugly. It's been ugly under Monty Williams so far. I'll get your thoughts first, Gabe, because there's been a lot of other things that have been impacting the Pistons between injuries and whatnot. But a team that we didn't expect to be great this year, but we didn't really have losing 15 in a row as an expectation.
So I had pretty high hopes for the Pistons. You know, I'm a Cade believer. I'm a Ivy supporter. And, you know, they brought in, like, Asar, and don't get me wrong, Asar's been great at what he does. But I saw something on Twitter today, a report. I had to double-check because it was the Dunk Central, and we know NBA Centel is out there dropping misinformation left and right. So I had to double-check, but they were offered 2 first-round picks from a contender for Bojan Bogdanovic, and they said no. If you're a young team trying to develop talent and you're able to get 2 firsts out of a guy who's not part of your future, what are you doing? And for as much as we, like, brought up this front office and really gave them so many props for years, for like, oh, Detroit, they always take flyers on these guys and they end up turning them into something good, or they've made good draft picks late, like Jalen Duren came out of nowhere. They've done all these good things. And now it's like, it feels like the table is turning, and it's like, what are they doing right now? Like, it does not look good. And this on-court product is just surprisingly bad. Like, for as good as Monty Williams had the Suns looking, I just didn't expect, like, the product to be this poor. And I know, like, the talent isn't great. Like, the floor spacing is horrendous. We know, like, Asar is one of their best players and he can't shoot. Duren's a guy who's just probably going to be in the paint most of the time. So, like, a lot of their primary players, like, Cade's not the greatest shooter. Ivy's not a great shooter. Most of their guys, if they have Killian Hayes out there for heavy minutes, like, we've talked about his offensive game to no end. Really, I mean, some of the only guys, like, I know, like, Marcus Sasser's gotten, like, a lot of his shine off being a guy who's actually able to shoot. But overall, like, every time I watch a Pistons game, I'm just like, this team doesn't even look like they're, like, developing. Like, they just look bad on offense. Now, their defense, the numbers aren't good, but you see a lot of potential there between, like, Jalen Duren and Asar, especially. Like, that could be the start of a really good defensive core. But they're just a bad watch, man. Like, it's just they're one of those teams where it's like, okay, we're almost to December. It's been like a month and a half. Probably pretty soon it's going to be time to stop watching Pistons games. They've got some talented guys on there. They've got some talented. If it's like halftime of the Raptors game and it's like one of the only other games on, I might catch a little bit of it, but it's not a good watch. Besides seeing like Asar do some crazy shit on defense, and I think didn't he just come back pretty recently?
Yeah,
I feel like he
only
just
played 2 or 3.
I think within the last couple of games, yeah.
That's what I was gonna say. So like seeing him play some more and see if that changes anything, like maybe, but it doesn't look great. It does not look great. I don't even want to blame Cade either. Like,
it's not
because I feel like Cade has a lot of talent, but as a playmaker, when like the spacing and overall like offensive pieces around you are just not like, what's he supposed to do?
The Trae Young point that we had a few weeks ago.
I feel like Trae has more than Cade has. Most definitely. Like,
most definitely. It's rough. It's
legitimately so bad where I'm like I can't even say it impacts like my view on Cade making people around him better. Like what's he supposed to do? Turn like shit into like golden shit? It's still shit.
See, like if you're kicking out to a 30% 3-point shooter,
kicking out to Asar who's about to airball,
who's not a three, who can't shoot at all. Killian Hayes is gonna take him. He might make some. Asar's not gonna make any. Isaiah Stewart's probably like their best 3-point shooter in the rotation.
He's like, I think he's like 38% or something. I think Sasser's like 36 or something.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, even Joe Harris hasn't been shooting the ball well this year. So, I mean,
It's horrible, man.
They've got nothing.
Sasser and Asar are for real like the only big bright spots.
But
You
then
could
I feel
throw
like
Cade into that too, but like you kind of expected a little bit more.
Cade's he's been fine. I mean, coming off a big injury, I think those first like 5 or 6 games was like excellent, but you know, he's definitely still trying to work his way back and stuff. But still, even Monty, like his rotations has just translated right over this team. Like I feel like there was a few games where after Sasser had that big like stretch where he's playing really well, and then he had a couple bad games because he's a rookie. It's gonna happen. He's a young guy, and then it's just like you check the box score. It's like 5 minutes, 7 minutes, 5 minutes again. It's like it's so inconsistent. It's like, damn, like you said, Gabe, this is like one of their best shooters that they have on the court.
Monty's
It's just bad.
It's been weird. It's just
bad.
Been so strange. Like
It's
Jaden
terrible
Ivey,
product.
you should be put like if the offense is gonna look this bad anyways, just put the young guy out there. Let me see what
Play
Jaden
him.
Ivey can do. Like you might as well.
Just play him.
I feel like he has prioritized guys who've been inconsistent, veterans, maybe slightly better defense, just way more than he should be. And I mean, I've been critical of him since the back end of the year with the Suns as far as rotations go. So this is nothing new for me, but it just hasn't been good. I mean, I've been a decent defender of Killian Hayes, but starting him on this team with no spacing does not make any sense. The Jaden Ivey minutes have just been very odd. Sasser having inconsistent minutes is also very odd. I know Joe Harris has still battled some injury concerns, but he should just be playing based on the fact that teams have to respect him from the 3-point line, which quite frankly, they just need on this team. Like it's a really weird situation for them. I don't understand why Killian Hayes is still starting. Credit to Isaiah Stewart. He's been shooting the ball well. He's played quite well this year, probably his best season yet in the league. But like we've said, Cade just has nothing to work with offensively. There's very limited production. Some of the clips of him just being swarmed by 4 or 5 guys the moment he takes a dribble, like he just has no chance. I mean, the turnover numbers are ugly. They're at 4.5 a game. But I don't think there's many guys in the league that are going to do much better than him in terms of efficiency and in terms of turnovers in this offense. It's really tough personnel, and it's not being helped by some of the rotations that he's being put into. So it's a tough spot for him to be in. It's a tough spot for a lot of this roster to be in. Like you guys mentioned, thankfully Asar has looked very good, and Sasser's had a good start to his rookie year as well. But there's a lot of things that need to be ironed out still. Thankfully, they have been dealing with injuries, so there is hope that hopefully once some guys get back, that helps. Isaiah Livers has missed a lot of time, who they're still hoping can be a decent wing for them. Bojan has missed a lot of time, which of course is going to be their main source of shooting and spacing. So that's going to be the 2 biggest things they're looking for. Duran's missed time as well, which has certainly hurt their defense. But I don't think those guys coming back are doing anything great for them. Ultimately, they've just been really bad. And it's not like they've been somewhat competitive on a lot of nights and they're just losing late in the 4th quarter because they're a young team. Like they've just been really bad. And I don't see much within this season making them significantly better, especially when you consider the fact that even though we just mentioned earlier that Bojan did not get traded for 2 first-round picks last year, he still might get traded eventually. And that's just going to put them right back to where they are right now in terms of spacing compared to when he's back. So they're in a really tough spot. Thankfully, this year does not need to be their year, and they can get another good pick. But they need to figure it out to some extent, specifically in terms of Monty needs to figure it out for his own job, even though they did just give him a ton of money. But I mean, we are at game 15 in a row now. Eventually, something needs to change. And quite frankly, the fact that they're just deep enough into this rebuild that some amount of positive habits need to start being developed. And that's certainly not happening right now.
Look, I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna say this real quick, Gabe. Then I'm gonna let you go. But to the Monty point, listen, we've seen coaches with less talent have teams that are more competitive than this. We're not asking the Pistons to be the Magic. We're not asking them to be the OKC Thunder. We were just asking to see some damn improvement. They look just as bad, maybe worse, than when Dwayne Casey was coaching them. And look, I'm not saying Monty is a terrible – I'm not saying he's a bad coach. I actually think he's an above-average coach. But for the amount of money that you're getting And even though they have dealt with injuries, you still have talent on this team. You still have plenty of talent that if you're a good enough coach, I feel like you should figure it out enough to make it a watchable brand of basketball. They're unwatchable right now. I love Cade, but Cade said, we suck. That's all I need to hear. Like, all right, I'm not watching because obviously you guys are terrible. And any team that loses 15 games in a row, that's an abnormal number right there. This early in the season as well. Look, injuries aside, I got to like really look at the coaching and be like, that's what's messing this up more than anything right now. That's all I have to say about Monty.
We low-key ain't even mentioned the best shooter on the team. I forgot Alec Burks is low-key lighting it up there for him.
He's inevitable.
He's pulled off a bit, but he has been good.
But yeah, no, I saw his last couple like box scores. It was like 2 for 9 from 3 and shit. So yeah, he's cooled off, but
I love him in Boston.
He might be there. He might nab him at least a second round. I think he could nab him some in a little trade.
Maybe a late first from like I don't know, maybe Denver would be like, hey, let's get a veteran guard in here or something.
Like when you look at it, it's like Cade don't have a single other person on this roster averaging 13 or more points. He's not working with nobody.
That's gross.
We talk about bad supporting cast. Like we say, oh, Trey don't got anything. Like, but DeJounte can get you at least 18. They're like DeAndre Hunter. I feel like he more than 13. That's for damn sure.
The Warrior fans would be like, Curry doesn't have help. Get Curry help,
bro. Well, I mean, we were talking Curry. Curry didn't have nobody else averaging 20. K don't have nobody else averaging 13. Like Curry had like nobody else scored 20 or something crazy. Like literally, when you look at it, like Kevin Knox was getting fucking minutes for 4 games, and his stats look better. And his stats look better than half the people that are regularly in the rotation. And I feel like it is trying to build a culture where we were saying like, oh, Jaden Ivey's not getting minutes because he wasn't putting in good effort on defense or whatever the hell it was. But it's like clearly the culture you're setting ain't fucking working because you have your own franchise players saying, yeah, we stink. You have like guys with bad morale like Jaden Ivey because you're taking him out the lineup. Like what culture are you building? It doesn't seem like it's a very positive one. And you might say, oh, yeah, we're going to play hard or you're not going to play. Well, I don't know, man. Like it doesn't feel like they're getting any better. It doesn't like – I don't feel like I've seen any development. Like I said, like the bright spots being like Asar, like he looked that good his first game. So it's not development. He just came in that good. Sasser, he looked good pretty much from the beginning. We said he kind of had a little bit of a rough stretch here recently. That's not development. He was just already that good when he got there. What are they developing? And when he took the Suns to be he literally took the Suns from being a laughing stock. And I'm not going to say Cade's Devin Booker because I don't know if Cade's going to be like the best at his position in the whole league, top 10 player, but like damn good talent. He should be able to take him in a solid core, especially a solid defensive core. Like I said, 2 very solid building blocks in Asar and Jalen Duren. They should be looking better. The on-court product should be looking better. What's their defense right now? If you have those 2 guys to spearhead your defense, 24th, it's pretty bad.
Not a bad defender.
It ain't bottom 5, but it's not good by any means.
I think Cade has graded for an okay defender in his young career. It's like I said,
big guard. Like he has potential to be solid.
Like I said, it's the same shit. Dwayne Casey had these boys trying to buy in on the defensive side of the floor. But it's the same shit. Like they're just a terrible team still. And look, like you said, like that Suns bubble team, I think that was Monty's first year, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
That team had a little more talent. I mean, it was Devin Booker, who was like an all-star-ish player around that point, even though I don't think he made it yet. A.N. was a 20-12 or whatever he was, like his first couple of years. And then I think Kelly Oubre was on that team, Ricky Rubio. Like they had good players on that team. But I mean, this, like you said, like this Pistons team, it's not like they're not like the mid-2010s Brooklyn Nets where they just don't have any talent. They have talent. They have a lot of pretty decent talent on this team. But, you know, when it looks this bad, I got to look at the coach, man, especially when he looks like he doesn't know what he wants to do night from night. And it's like, I get that you guys are losing a lot of games, so you probably think you have to keep changing stuff up. But at some point, you kind of just got to accept what it is and just be like, you know what, we drafted even though he wasn't my draft pick, Jaden Ivey is on his team. He's a year 2 guy. He was a top 5 pick. Maybe I should give him some minutes. Maybe I should start him next to Cade because, hey, the idea is it's supposed to be Cade and Ivy, like the backcourt, blah, blah, blah. Maybe I should do that. But Monty, Devin was, like you said, you were very critical in the playoffs last year about him just freestyling his rotation, and it seems like he's doing it again with a young team that is not having the culture set. And now we're talking about Troy Weaver needs to get fired. Gabe saying they can't develop talent. Like, it's all bad right now. And I don't know if they win another game this calendar year. Like, that's how just awful it looks right now. Until they fix it, I can't see them winning the game. I thought they would beat the Pistons. The Wizards. They couldn't even do that.
I can't believe their offenses that last. I genuinely cannot believe their offense isn't the worst in the league. Like, it looks horrible to watch.
Look, the spacing is bad, but we've seen teams with bad spacing still be competent offensive teams with probably less talent than what this team has. It is a god-awful product. And look, as far as I'm concerned, people shouldn't be watching this team unless your team is playing against them. That's the only time you should be watching them. And if you're a Pistons fan, I'm so sorry that you have to experience another bad product with no progression of a season. Because this is like, 3-4 years in a row since like the end of Blake Griffin's time of them just being awful.
There's only three worse offenses in the whole league, and it's San Antonio, who just got the #1 draft pick. So we know they weren't very good. Memphis, who missed Ja and also started off the season horrible, but at least they're getting a literally top 20 player back. And Portland, who just started off a rebuild a month ago.